I arrived at the Vanderbilt clutching the small navy envelope I had spent all night debating whether to bring. The lobby glowed with chandeliers and polished marble, but I barely noticed. I was too aware of how out of place I looked. Simple dress, quiet presence, the daughter no one expected or wanted to be here. Sienna spotted me the moment I stepped into the reception hall. Her smile was perfect, but her eyes tightened. Juliet. She sang, gliding over in lace and diamonds. You made it. How thoughtful. I said I would. I replied softly. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. We did not finalize a seat for you. Just stay near the service area. All right, the staff can find space if they have time. Heat prickled my neck. You could have told me earlier. I was busy planning my wedding, she said, still smiling. You understand. Mother approached next, smoothing her pearl necklace. Juliet, do not make a fuss. Your sister has a very important day. I am not making a fuss, I murmured. I just want a place to sit. Father barely looked at me. There are seats. Somewhere. Just be flexible. There it was, the family dynamic distilled into a single moment. They never had room for me. Not at the table. Not in the conversation. Not in the family story they liked to tell the world. A server gestured toward an empty table pushed against the wall beside the swinging kitchen doors. Plates clattered each time the door opened, and warm air hit my legs. I sat anyway. Across the room, Sienna basked in admiration, her laughter floating through the hall like she was born for this stage. Maybe she was. Maybe I was just here to play the shadow role they assigned me. Still, if you are listening to this and want more of what really happened that night, the part no one at that wedding expected, stay with me. Because everything began to unravel the moment I took that seat by the kitchen door. I used to think something was wrong with me. That is what my family taught me long before Sienna's wedding ever existed. I remember being 8, sitting at the kitchen table while Mother arranged tulips in a vase. I felt a heaviness in the air, a ripple of tension from Father's new co-worker who was visiting that afternoon. I tugged on Mother's sleeve. Do not let him in, I whispered. He feels wrong. Mother sighed. Juliet, stop being dramatic. Adults have real problems. You just imagine things. When Father came home later, he scoffed. She said that, good grief, she needs a hobby. Sienna, only 5 then, twirled in her pink dress. Juliet is weird, she announced proudly. She makes everything sad. The label stuck. By middle school. I tried telling a teacher that a substitute coach made my skin crawl. She believed me. For reasons she never explained, and caught him installing a hidden camera in the girls' locker room. For one moment, someone had taken me seriously. Sienna did not. You probably just got lucky, she said, brushing her hair. You cannot feel things. That is not real, Father added. Do not encourage her. She will think this nonsense means something. It did mean something, but I learned to keep it buried. The more I sensed, the more they pushed me out of the frame. And sitting at that wedding table by the kitchen door, I felt that same old ache rise again, quiet, familiar, and uninvited. I first met Victoria Ames in a cramped office above a bakery in Back Bay. I was 19, clutching a resume no one wanted and pretending I was not terrified. She glanced at me over her glasses, eyes sharp, unreadable. You are Juliet Harrington, she said, as if she already knew the weight of that name. Sit. I sat. My palms were sweating. She studied me for a moment. You feel everything in the room before anyone speaks. Do you not? My throat tightened. People say I imagine things. Victoria shook her head. No. You perceive patterns other people miss. Emotional, structural, behavioral. That is not imagination. That is data. I stared at her, unsure whether to believe it. She leaned forward. "Tell me what you sense right now." The air around us seemed to shift. I heard the bakery downstairs, the low hum of traffic outside, but under it all, a wobble. "You are worried about a company," I said quietly. "Something is falling apart inside it. Too fast. Someone is hiding numbers from you." Her expression did not change, but a faint exhale escaped her. "That," she murmured, "is the skill executives pay for?" I blinked. "I do not have credentials or experience. You have insight," she corrected. "I can teach you the rest." And she did. Over the next year, I worked under her shadow, reviewing messy ledgers, listening to broken teams, sensing fractures no spreadsheet could reveal. She called me ghost analyst. It made me feel real for the first time. But at home, none of it mattered. Father said I was dabbling. Mother insisted it was temporary. Sienna laughed whenever I said I had work. Only Victoria looked at me like I was not broken, like I had always been waiting to be found. By the time I reached my mid-20s, Victoria had me working on quiet restructuring projects across Boston, Providence, and Stamford. I stayed invisible by design. Companies hired a firm. The firm hired Victoria, and Victoria slipped the messiest pieces to me. I liked it that way. No spotlight, no questions. At home, none of it existed. One evening, as I reviewed a failing retailer's month-end numbers at the dining table, Sienna burst in wearing a cream coat and an expression full of triumph. "Everyone, I have news," she announced. "I am getting married." Mother gasped. "Oh, darling, I knew it. I absolutely knew it." Father clapped his hands once. "Finally, something worth celebrating." I closed my laptop slowly. "Who is he, Rowan Kingsley?" Sienna said, letting the name hang in the air like a trophy. "Kingsley Development, Connecticut. Old money, real estate empire, heir to everything." Mother practically glowed. "Juliet, do you hear that your sister is marrying into legacy?" I nodded, but a cold ripple slid down my spine the moment his name left her mouth. I did not know him, had never met him, yet something in the syllables felt hollow, like a door opening to a dark room. Sienna noticed my hesitation. "What now? Going to tell me he feels wrong?" "I am saying nothing," I replied carefully. "Just do not rush anything without checking the facts." She laughed sharply. "There it is." "You cannot stand that I won," Father added. "Juliet, let her enjoy her moment." I wanted to let it go, but every time she said Rowan's name, that hollow space inside me deepened. A week later, I shook his hand for the first time at their engagement dinner, and the fog I felt around him hit me so hard I nearly lost my breath. Something about Rowan Kingsley was terribly, terribly off. The reception hall buzzed with champagne laughter, violin music, and the thick sweetness of Sienna's perfect world. I sat at the same table wedged beside the kitchen doors, where servers kept brushing past me with trays I was never offered. Each time, one lifted a lid and I smelled seared scallops or lemon risotto. A plate moved toward another table, never mine. A server finally leaned in. "I am sorry. Your table was removed from the service rotation." My throat tightened. Removed, how she hesitated. The planner said it was by request. Before I could respond, the doors swung open and Sienna drifted toward me, veil trailing like smoke. "Juliet," she whispered brightly, "I hope the seating is acceptable." "You made sure it would not be," I answered. She pouted. "Do not start. You make everything heavier. It is my wedding. Just try not to ruin anything tonight. I am not the one putting this at risk." Her eyes narrowed. "What is that supposed to mean?" Rowan appeared beside her, hand on her waist. Everything all right. His polished smile never touched his eyes. "She is being dramatic again," Sienna said. I stood. "I hope you checked the facts before signing anything." The room quieted. A few nearby guests turned. Before Sienna could fire back, a firm voice cut through the music. "That is enough." A tall man in a slate suit, Mason Kingsley, Rowan's older brother, rose from the groomsmen's table. His face was tense, jaw set. "Sienna," he said evenly. "Juliet is right to question things. You should too." Rowan stiffened. "Mason, sit down." "No," Mason replied. "Not tonight. You deserve the truth before you take another step into this." Sienna's smile cracked. "What truth?" Mason faced the room. Kingsley Development did not have a strong year, as Rowan told you. It filed for bankruptcy 10 months ago. He has no inheritance, no assets. Nothing he promised you exists. A wave of gasps rolled through the hall. Rowan grabbed Mason's arm. "You had no right, I had every right." Mason snapped. "I am done covering for you." Sienna staggered back. "Rowan, tell him he is lying." Rowan's voice broke. "I did what I had to." "You wanted a big life." "That is not an answer," she whispered. Another voice rose from the opposite side of the room. "Actually, I can answer." Maxwell Sterling, CEO of Sterling Harbor, stood from a VIP table. The same man whose company I had quietly helped Victoria restructure. He walked straight to me. "You are Juliet Harrington," he said, "the analyst who saved my company from a multi-million-dollar collapse." Sienna's breath caught. Mother sat frozen. Father's wine glass slipped slightly in his grip. Maxwell continued, "I owe this woman more than she ever took credit for. She is the reason Sterling Harbor is alive." A hush fell. Even the music faltered. Sienna's voice cracked. "Juliet saved what I swallowed. I work from where I am respected. That is all." Rowan tried one last swing of blame. "This is all about you, Juliet. You wanted to humiliate us." But Mason stepped between us. "No, she is the only honest person in this room." The wedding did not fall apart slowly. It collapsed all at once like glass hitting stone. By morning, the wedding had already become a spectacle far beyond Newport. When I woke, my phone buzzed nonstop. Clips from the reception were everywhere. Shaky videos of Mason revealing the bankruptcy. Sienna's gasp, Rowan's outburst. One caption read, "The Newport wedding collapse." Another, "The woman in Navy who knew." Millions of views. Thousands of comments. I scrolled until Victoria called. "I saw the footage," she said calmly. "Are you all right?" "I should be." I answered, "But it feels surreal. You handled it better than anyone else in that room." Before I could respond, another call buzzed in Maxwell Sterling. I hesitated, then picked up. "Mr. Sterling." "Juliet," he said warmly. "I hope you do not mind me reaching out. I meant what I said last night. I have been trying to trace the consultant behind the restructuring project for months. Now I know why your name never came up. Victoria protects her best talent." My chest tightened. It was not meant to be public. Sometimes the truth wants out. He replied, "I would like to meet with you in New York. A strategic role, flexible, high level. Not employment collaboration." The word hung in the air, collaboration. "I will think about it," I said quietly. "Good. And Juliet, do not underestimate what you did." People in my world noticed. When I hung up, I stared at the blank wall of my apartment. For years, my family treated me like a shadow. Now, the world was calling my name. 3 days after the wedding collapsed, my phone rang with a number I knew by heart. I let it buzz until the final second before answering. Mother exhaled shakily. "Juliet, your sister is struggling." I kept my voice steady. I assumed she might be. "She cannot pay the Newport condo," Mother continued. $4,500 a month. Rowan left everything in her name, and the company moved her off her major accounts. She is overwhelmed. I waited. Father's voice cut in, strained. "We think the family should come together. Maybe you could help for a while. You have always been the steady one." There it was, the line they only used when they needed something. "I am not doing this," I said, doing what Mother whispered. "Cleaning up everyone's illusions," I replied softly. "You did not raise me. You tolerated me, and I am done paying for it." A long silence followed. Not offended, stunned. Finally, Mother said, "Juliet, be reasonable." "I am," I answered. For the first time, I hung up before they could speak again. Sienna showed up at my apartment 2 nights later. No makeup, no diamonds, no perfect posture, just a trembling silhouette behind the frosted glass. When I opened the door, she looked smaller than I had ever seen her. "I am not here for money," she murmured. "I do not have the right to ask you for that." I stepped aside without a word. She entered slowly, as if afraid the floor might reject her too. "I do not know who I am without everything collapsing," she said, voice cracking. "I built my whole life on being perfect, and I needed you to stay broken so it made sense." Her honesty landed like a stone in my chest. "I have rules," I said quietly. "If you stay here, no lies, no insults, no manipulation. You clean up after yourself. You stand on your own feet." Sienna nodded quickly, almost desperately. "I can do that." For the first time in years, she looked at me without superiority, only truth. By spring, the rhythm of my days felt sharper, clearer. I moved between consulting sessions in Boston, strategy calls with executives in New York, and quiet evenings drafting frameworks at my dining table. Sienna kept her word. She worked long hours, paid her share, and stayed honest even when it hurt. Our conversations were cautious, but real. One evening, after I returned from speaking at a leadership conference, my first keynote, Sienna looked up from the sofa. "Juliet, you were incredible today. People listened to you. They really listened." I set my notes down. It felt good, I admitted. Better than I expected. A soft knock sounded at the door. When I opened it, Mason Kingsley stood there beneath the hallway light, hands in his pockets, expression sincere. "I was in town," he said. "Thought I would see how you are doing." "I am finding my footing," I answered. He smiled. "I would like to see where this goes, if that is something you want too." I held his gaze. The steadiness of it, the lack of performance. "Maybe it is," I said. "If you have stayed with me this far, you already know none of this was about a wedding. It was about finally choosing the people who stand beside me. And if you want to hear what came next, stay close, because this is only the beginning."